What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Aquariums. My name is Nate. Today I want to go over how to breed cherry shrimp. I have a couple tanks full of shrimp. Two of them are the painted fire reds, which are basically just extremely high grade cherry shrimp. So stay tuned. Let's check it out.
You crazy mother!
Oh, good boy. Alright, so we're kind of just going to roll along and freehand this one. So these top four tanks, I'm breeding freshwater shrimp, two of which would be like the higher grade cherry shrimp. The first thing you need to consider if you want to breed freshwater shrimp is know your water parameters. If you are running harder water, I suggest you go with like the Neocaridina species or your common like cherry shrimp. If you're on much softer water, I'd say look into the Caridina. They're a softer water shrimp. They come with a lot of great varieties. They're a little bit more challenging, a little more pricey, but if you don't have to fight your water, it might just make more sense for you. A lot of these rules, I would say, are not necessarily rules, but a lot of these things that you use to try to breed cherry shrimp, you can use for all shrimp. They're very similar in their behaviors. So the first thing I would say, the most important thing that I've noticed when trying to breed cherry shrimp is the utilization of a sponge filter. So as you can see, I have shrimp all over that thing. Just crazy. They're stacked up all over it. In the Blue Dream tank next to it, they're a little bit harder to see, but you can see they're grazing on this one as well. Up here, this Blue Dream tank, you can kind of see them. They're all over the place swimming with the guppies, but they're back there on that filter, back in that Java moss. Over here in this top red, they're back there on the filter, back there in the Java moss. And the reason why that's important is that it allows them to have pretty much like an all day, all night source for food. They just graze on that thing 24/7. There's a bunch of microfauna that grows on that they're able to pick and chew on all day long, which is going to really help you when you're trying to breed these things. The next thing that I think is really important is providing a lot of surface area for them to graze on. So it's kind of a dual purpose using these big rocks. It allows them to get in here and it gives them a lot of stuff for them to graze on and chew on, very similar to like the sponge filter. Plants will also go along in this, but the dual purpose with the rocks is that it always also provides a place for the babies to hide. So it's a little tough. Let me see, you might be able to see this right here. See that small shrimp next to that snail? They're able to live in here, crawl around, grow, get big. Here's another one, I think. But right here's the one I initially saw. They're able to hide in there, protects them, keeps them from getting picked on, chewed on by guppies, especially if you're going to run them in a multi-species tank. But even if you're not, all that additional surface area gives them a place to feed, hides, protects those babies, and you'd be really amazed at how many of them get harbored inside those rocks there. So I've kind of covered a sponge filter being my most important, running live plants, lots of rocks, lots of things in the tank for surface area is big. Recently I put these floating plants in there and they seem to really love these. You'll see them up in there commonly chewing on the stuff that's growing on these hanging down roots. You can see there's one right there. There was another one. There's another one back in the corner. They're always up on these roots, hanging down from this Amazon frog bit. They seem to really enjoy that. And again, it's just all the surface area, right? As much surface area as possible to allow these microfaunas or these little algae and these things to grow for these shrimp to graze and feed on. The third thing being big rock piles. L.R. Brett's put this out a long time ago and I've tried it and it seems to really work for me. We're using the big rock piles to harbor these small babies. Fourth thing I guess we could cover is tank size. So I use 10 gallons and I think they work really well. I don't think you want to get too much smaller just because these things will populate, and when they populate very fast. So I started off with 8, I believe. And from those original 8, I now have 2 tanks full of these painted fire reds, right? So there's probably 50 plus in this tank and probably somewhere, I just started this tank not that long ago, and it looks like there's maybe 30 in there, if not more. So tank size, I wouldn't go smaller than a 10, especially if you're trying to breed these things for pure numbers. I like to run them with snails, so you can see I have red ram's horns all over the place. In this tank, we got like a 3-way going on here, something crazy. Over here at the blues, I got blue ram's horn snails. Down here in my like cull tank, I got ram's horn snails galore. Right? And the reason why I think those are extremely beneficial is I feed once a day, sometimes twice a day. I use the Aquatic Arts invertebrate pellets. I seem to have a lot of good luck with those. They have calcium in their pellets. I haven't had any molting issues, and the shrimp have really populated and done well for me. But the snails, people say that it's a symbiotic relationship, right, where the snail poop, the shrimp are able to feed off it, and the snails break down the shrimp poop. I don't even know how it all works, to be completely honest with you. But what I do know is if there's any excess food that you throw in that tank, the shrimp will get their fill and the snails will pick up after them. Right? Whether or not the poop thing and the snail slime and all that stuff, I couldn't tell you. I can't actually observe that myself, but what I do know is that there's no food left over in this tank ever. Right? I feed this thing, most of the time I probably feed twice a day, and there's no leftover pellets. I have never had water issues, never had a crash, and I've been doing this with these shrimp for almost a year and a half now, I want to say, or 2 years of these shrimp, these colonies, and I haven't had any crashes feeding them that much. A lot of people will tell you to feed them, hardly feed them, and I don't know. I do big water changes. I'll do 75% water change, 50 to 75% water change weekly, and I feed big, just like you would with anything else you're trying to breed. And I've had nothing but luck. So this tank's fully populated. Over here, I just recently started these 2 bottom ones. I picked out my best doing line breeding. But over here you can see there's shrimp everywhere. I started off with only 5 of each of these, and since then these tanks have exploded. All over here in this back corner there's shrimp. Back there on that sponge there's shrimp everywhere. And then up here they're just going crazy everywhere. Doing these same things. If you're going to run with guppies, like I said, throw more stuff in there. So here's a side view. I just got a ton of crap just thrown in there. Coconut husk, spider wood, rocks on rocks on rocks. I got some Java moss up there on top of the filter. Running the aragonite rock in here too for those snails and shrimp to get their calcium. And I have had no issues. Right? I'm able to do both. So up here I have a ton of guppy fry you can see just swimming around. And I bet you I could find a small little shrimp in here if I look closely. Let me see. Anyway, there's so many places to hide, but that's the whole point, right? So if you're going to run 2 species like this, if you're trying to do like a breeding for profit, load up the bottom of your tank so that way those shrimp can hide. But if you really just want to focus in like your line breeding and you just want the shrimp to do their thing, I would suggest a 10-gallon species-only tank. I think that's everything. Let me see. We'll just do a quick recap. Sponge filter, rocks, aragonite for a calcium source. Load the tank full of stuff, live plants, floating plants. Get as much surface area for them to feed on. Big gravel piles for babies. Big water changes, big food, man. That's what I do. Alright, so real quick before I forget, I just want to point out the difference between a male and a female. So we're going to extend this up. Alright, so right here, how I remember it is girls wear skirts and boys don't. So you can see how fat the midsection is on that one. You can see she's rolling her flipperettes. She's got a bunch of eggs down there. But the girls have a big undersection that kind of comes down like a skirt, right? So girls wear skirts, and then let's see if we can find a boy right here swimming. I can just get it to focus on him now. Alright, let me see. So you can see how skinny his butt is. Let's focus on the one in the back. There we go. You see how skinny his butt is in comparison to that other one? No skirt, right? So it's a boy. So for a ratio, when I started these 2 bottom 5 gallons on my line breeding, I grabbed 3 females and 2 males for each one of these tanks, and they've done really well for me. So if you can pick, that's the ratio I would go with if you're going to do, and then extend it out. So if you're going to do 10, do 6 and 4, 15, 8 and 6, right? Or 9 and 6. I think, man, math is tough. Anyway, something I thought was just important. Make sure you know the difference in your males and females. Your females typically have better colors, so don't go in and pick all the best colored ones because chances are you might just end up with a bunch of girls. So, just a tidbit for your thoughts. Alright, so I just want to thank you all for joining me. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully there's something you can take away from this that's going to help improve your shrimp keeping hobby. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to hit me up in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. I am getting more and more time, so I'll be able to spend more and more time on YouTube. So I'd really love to have more interaction with the community. So please hit me up in the comments if you have any questions, any concerns, whatever it may be. Love to hear them. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Comment, subscribe, whatever, right? See y'all next time. Appreciate it.